Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios. We are back to recap the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, and while it was not the 50th running, it was the 51st. Not quite the same buzz and energy for the 51st compared to the 50th. We'll dive into the race here in a bit, but first, hello, Justin.
Hello, Caleb. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. It's nice weather out. We'll see if that holds into next week with the open test at Indianapolis, but it's been a relatively warm week this week here in Northeast Indiana.
Which means it's going to get cold, I think, starting tomorrow. That's how that works.
That's the thing. Now through pretty much the end of May, including Memorial Day weekend, you just never know what you're going to get. Is it going to be 80s? Is it going to be 40s? You never know.
You don't know. What we do know in IndyCar is Alex Palou is still the man to beat. Nothing has changed. Alex Palou wins the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, getting it done in the pits per usual. Pit stop before the final restart. They came out on top in pit lane ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, who started on pole, who led every lap until that point. In fact, led 51 laps. Palou led 32, so actually I guess Newgarden cycled to the lead briefly, as did Will Power. But it was between Rosenqvist and Palou the entire race. They go into the pits. Palou has a solid stop. I think it was 7.3 seconds. Rosenqvist 8.4. And I think there was some sort of slight issue with the wheel gun, and that cost him about a second and a half. The first time, Rosenqvist was able to hang on to the lead through the first pit sequence, and that was your race. I mean, that's it.
Good race recap.
I mean, there's really not a whole lot to dive into on this one. I mean, we'll do our three takeaways, and I think the bigger takeaway is that IndyCar needs to make some changes to help this race out. I think that's my biggest takeaway. Do you have any other initial thoughts before we get to our big three?
No, I think it's going to be in one of my big three to talk more details about that. But
we'll lead with that.
Yes. Let's. Is it both of our ones?
Yeah, I think so.
At this point,
my number one is I think there are a few competing things that need to be figured out. Number one, the start was an absolute disaster. So much so that I guess it wasn't in the mailbag this week on Racer.
Yes.
That Marshall Pruitt said a senior IndyCar official was upset.
And this was later in the race, unprompted, when Marshall Pruitt ran into this official, and the official brought it up. So it was still on his or her mind deep into the race, unprompted. So it was an absolute disaster. So
I'm not sure why that even got the green to begin with. That should not have gotten a green flag. And I'm not sure if said senior IndyCar official has the ability to call into race control and make a call, but clearly that never should have gone green the way it is. So that's problem number one.
It's so tough to wave it off because it's so quick after the hairpin. Mm-hmm. You presume that the guys are going to line up quickly. You have to already be, in my opinion, side by side into the hairpin, which I know isn't the easiest, but you almost have to be because there's no time coming out of the hairpin.
I think the issue is, one, you can't just move the starting line down. I know that's what everyone's going to suggest, but you have ticket holders, kind of like the Indy 500, where if they move the starting line, they're going to want to move back to the starting line. So you can't just move the starting line and expect that to be cool with your long-standing, ticket holders of the event to just not be in front of the starting line. So you can't do that. What you can do, and something I wish IndyCar did that NASCAR does, is when they do starts and restarts in NASCAR, they do it at the green, right? And I know IndyCar goes and they go with green, but they have a restart zone, whereas NASCAR has their restart and start zone basically at the start-finish line.
Yes.
And that's what IndyCar needs to do in this situation. Give the cars more time to get lined up better coming out of the hairpin. Wait to throw the green until the leaders are basically right there. And I know people will say, well, that's going to stack up the field. It's like, well, yeah, that's what you want. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
That's how a race start is supposed to be conducted. Or better yet, just go back to standing starts and figure that out with a new car.
I think the worry is, they're all going to go into turn one and there's going to be chaos. And it's like,
okay,
so like
we have that almost every year.
Professional race car drivers, they can figure it out, right? So
yes.
It wasn't the reason why we had a stinker at Long Beach, the start, but it set the tone. for sure. And I posted it, and I wish I could find the stats easier than I've been able to. The wins by start position at Long Beach.
Oh, you got to be in the top 2, otherwise you're not winning.
I think it was top 5 was, I don't know, 70-80% of the winners, something like that. It is IndyCar's Monaco is what Long Beach is. Now, it's not as bad as Monaco in terms of the racing, but it is a big event on the schedule. Everybody hypes it up, second biggest event in IndyCar. It has great views, just like Monaco, right? Maybe not as much money flowing around as Monaco, but great views. It's boring racing. There is very little going on in that race. That's why there was such focus on what Joseph Newgarden was doing in this race, because he was the only one making anything happen by doing an alternate three-stop strategy. So Long Beach is Monaco. IndyCar's Monaco is what it is. And can it be fixed? I hope so. Is it a priority for the series to fix it? I don't think so. Because what's the incentive? Plenty of people go. And a lot of focus is on Indianapolis coming up after Long Beach, right? So I just don't know if it's a priority to fix Long Beach like it's been said F1 would like to fix Monaco. It's just one of those things where you have to take the event for what it is. It's a great event. It has great views. It is a prestigious event, one that drivers want to win, but it's boring. And that's just the way it is.
Second thing to fix is, because of the nature of it, the 3-stop is not really as viable as it was. You got to change the lap count, whether that is going back to 85, which they did as recently as 2024, or going above 90 and say going to 95 or 100. You got to fix the race distance to fix the strategy. And then the other thing is, and I don't know how much you can deal with this because it's a street course. Some years you get it right, some years you don't. But the Reds were basically as good or better than the Blacks. That's a problem. Like, the whole point of having the alternate tires for it to be quicker, which Joseph Newgarden showed that it was quicker, but also to have the fall off. And we just simply didn't have the fall off. And that was the other problem.
Yeah, and everybody loves the uniqueness of so many different road courses and street courses that IndyCar goes to, but every surface is different. Every track is different when you're talking about road and street courses, right, with the alternates. And what works at, Arlington may not necessarily work at Long Beach. What works at Mid-Ohio may not necessarily work at Road America. And it just goes back. So it's very difficult. I know people are easy to say, well, it's Firestone's problem. They need to come up with better reds. But they're the ones spending a lot of money to be in this series, and they can't be expected for their return to have special alternate tires for every single race that IndyCar goes to. And so, to me, it's difficult to blame Firestone because of that. I mean, they can't lose their ass. I mean, you can say they're already losing their ass to be a part of IndyCar, but they're not going to be, hey, well, yeah, sure, we'll build a different compound for every single road and street course. That's not reality. So it's difficult. And with the lack of need, and look, I don't want a fuel mileage race anyway, but if it opened up to more of a, you get to decide 2 or 3, and you could win doing both pit strategies, then I think it would add something. But at the same time, it's incredibly difficult to pass at Long Beach. And that's why you need tire life to be in different places. But even that is kind of contrived. I mean, unfortunately, you're just at a track where, and Marcia Pruitt kind of pointed it out in the mailbag, you can't really dive bomb with this car anymore. Because of the weight of the hybrid and how difficult it is to get this car stopped because it weighs more. So those moves, and we saw, of course, Cal Kirkwood do it earlier this season, but that's not as possible as it used to be before because with a heavier car. So I guess we're looking at Long Beach and saying maybe 2028 brings more excitement to this race because the current formula isn't bringing it.
Well, that's why I think you really need to change the lap count next year. Either go back to 85 so that you're making it a true two-stop race for everyone, and everyone can be on the same strategy. No one would try the 3-stop in that scenario, in my opinion, unless you have a lot of cautions and
True.
say you get fresh tires before the end and pass a bunch of cars, which I don't think you'd take that risk. Or go up to 100 laps. I mean, this I've looked back through 2007. This race has been numerous lap totals, whether it's been 85, 10 years ago it was 80.
I mean, it was 85 as recently as 2024.
Yes, and it was 85 for basically about a decade. I think 2014 or 15 it was 80. So like you go up.
16 it was 80. It changed in 2017.
Okay, so like you go up, and then the late Champ Car days it bounced all over the place. I think that was more due to timed race constraints than necessarily having
it was as
set lap count.
Back in the late 90s, it was 105 laps.
Yeah. So, like, I think if you go to 100, then it's a 3-stop race for everyone. If you go to 85, it's a 2-stop race for everyone, unless you're having issues. So, change the lap count. Either give people 100 laps or give them 85, but clearly 90 is not the right number. And then the other thing, again, the tires, like you said, you can't blame Firestone necessarily. You can't test at Long Beach, but what you can do is make sure that they fall off more and make it how I feel like the Reds have gotten so good in recent years that the fall off difference, like we used to see red tires last for 10 to 15 laps and completely fall off. And that's how it should be. That's kind of the point of the tire. That's the risk you're taking. And that's what it needs to go back to. And they've almost become too reliable, which is funny because, again, when you have a gimmick, this is what can happen.
Yeah, right.
So between the lap count, fixing the start, and modifying the tire compound, I mean, to me, these seem to be the best they can do until they get a new car. That's the ultimate thing. And the new car's got to find a way to make this race more entertaining because that simply wasn't the best. Which we're not expecting this to be a barn burner, right? But we do expect it to be better than what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, 4 lead changes, and all of those were in pit cycles. I mean, there was no pass for the lead.
There was only one pass in the top 10 the first 30 laps or whatever.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of when they would put the graphic of positions gained or lost since race start. A lot of zeros in there. A lot of open boxes instead of pluses or minus. It's not a good race. And is it a priority for IndyCar to try to fix it? I don't know if it is, but I'd like to think it is. What about your number 2?
My number 2 takeaway. We have to give props to this driver, Nolan Siegel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good day. He didn't qualify well, qualified P last, worked his way up to 12th, 2 pit stops. So on the main strategy, in fact, he was the last driver on the main strategy, or last driver with only 2 stops. VK behind him in 13th was on a 3-stop strategy, and we'll also give them quick props. Their pit stops has been great, and rightfully so. Marshall Pruitt giving them credit with what they've done because I think that team has really improved their pit stops. But Nolan Siegel, I mean, this is a starting point. It is not some end-all be-all result, but it is a starting point for him, and that 12th badly needed.
It was, and the fact that he was able to work his way through the field on a day where it was tough to pass was very much impressive. Obviously, the 2 pit stop strategy worked for Nolan Siegel, and this is what he needs. A lot of these, right? Qualifying needs to improve. And that's the thing. If he's going to even sniff top 10 finishes, of which we agree, including Tony Kanaan, he needs to keep that seat, he needs to start higher in the field and stay out of trouble. He was able to do one of those on Sunday, but starting last, it's a Herculean effort even to get to the mid-pack, which he was able to do. So, yes, it was a positive day for Nolan Siegel, but he needs positive days, plural, going forward. He needs to build on this.
Seagulls, flock of seagulls?
Flock of goals on the mind.
What is your number 2?
Well, I'll piggyback off your he needed a good day narrative. and go with Mick Schumacher, particularly how Saturday went.
Yeah,
for Mick Schumacher.
Lost an engine.
The incident I've never was that the official reason why he nosed it in at the fountain, or is that
yes?
It was a weird incident. Makes sense with the blown engine, but a guy that entered the weekend last in points in terms of full-time running, he needed a good race day. He needed laps. And you saw what happened Saturday, and you're like, oh, here we go for Mick. I mean, you feel bad for Mick Schumacher based on how this season has gone so far. And maybe it's because I have a rooting interest for Mick Schumacher. I think it's good if Mick Schumacher is successful in IndyCar because of his lineage and his fan base from F1. I think it would be good if Mick Schumacher was good in IndyCar. And this was a step in that direction. And hopefully for him, it was a positive Sunday. Being able to go around, get all 90 laps in, finish 17th. Yeah, didn't make a lot of moves, but it was all about finishing. And he finally was able to get to the finish line in a race despite what happened.
And on the lead lap. Because remember, he qualified well at Phoenix, but then it was a disaster almost from the start. Then got a penalty, I think, late and fell back. So
and that was his best finish up till Sunday.
18th.
It was 18th.
So 17th. This is a step in the right direction, especially after how the weekend started for him.
Absolutely. So it was good to see for Mick Schumacher an uneventful Sunday in what has been uneventful or has been eventful race days for all the wrong reasons. Your number 3, sir.
It's tough. I feel like after that, I mean, those are the big things. I guess we do have to talk about Felix Rosenqvist getting the pole after a tough start to the season. I mean, a really big boost, second pole for him at Long Beach, led the most laps, got on the podium. Yeah, he didn't win, probably had the best car, but you got to get it done in all the phases. You got to have luck, you got to have pace, and you got to have pit stops, and he didn't have that last pit stop. But I think that was a big result for him because he had a bad start to the season. So I think for Felix Rosenqvist, this maybe could be a good tone setter going into the month of May for Meyer Shank Racing as well, because Marcus Armstrong, I think he did not have a good day. So for Felix Rosenqvist to get a result and finally have his first top 10, which happens to be second place, leading the most laps, claiming the pole, I mean, that's a huge boost for him.
Well, I think when you look at Felix Rosenqvist last year, and while he didn't have a podium finish, or excuse me, he had one, I think a Road America, I want to say, 6th place in points, was the best since his rookie season with Chip Ganassi in 2019. He was one of those guys, and we looked at Meyer Shank coming into this season, and okay, everybody's feeling good entering a new season, but you looked at Felix Rosenqvist and say, okay, can he build off that 6th place finish in points and take that next step? And despite not having a win since 2020, right? And came very close to winning Long Beach. It was the pit sequence. If the yellow doesn't come out, he wins the race.
I think so too.
And everybody say, well, Alex Palou was just biding his time. He was down, 4 or 5 seconds? I mean, he wasn't making any ground up. He was losing ground. So barring a mistake by Felix Rosenqvist, if that race stays green, Felix wins that race. But that's the margin for error, how little when you have when you're going against Alex Palou and that team is, the margin is very, very small in terms of what you have. But this was the first top 10 of the season for Felix Rosenqvist. So
hard to believe.
Right. So for a guy that when we were previewing the season, a lot of people previewing the season looking at Felix Rosenqvist, okay, can he be a top 5 points contender this year after finishing 6th last year? This was, despite not getting the win, a big result for him.
Especially when his teammate had a really strong start to the year, had an 11th at St. Pete, then a top 5 at Phoenix, 10th at Arlington, 6th at Barber, and then had a tough day at Long Beach. So it's got to feel good if you're Felix to not only A, finally beat your teammate, but also B, truly contend on a weekend, have a quick car, and you got to have confidence going forward after a slow start. And a lot of changes coming for him. I mean, his wife is due to have a baby in May, so there's like a lot going on, and I think for him just to have that confidence builder going into a really big month for him personally and professionally certainly doesn't hurt.
I feel like, too, is the longer it went without a result for Felix Rosenqvist, the more the pressure builds. Mm-hmm. For him to kind of get that monkey off his back before May is huge for him.
Definitely. What's your final takeaway?
Let's talk about Graham Rahal.
Hey.
The first back-to-back top 10 finishes for Graham Rahal in almost 2 years. I think I want to say July of 2024 was the last time he had back-to-back top 10 finishes. And that was, I think, Iowa and Toronto, I want to say. So a third at Barber.
You are correct. Iowa and Toronto in 24.
8th at Long Beach, throwing a 9th at Phoenix.
He has as many top 10s already through 5 races as he had all last season.
I mean, it's huge.
And he has got his first podium, at Barber. He didn't have any podiums going all the way back to, 2021?
My big thing with Graham Rahal
2023.
Okay, my big thing with Graham Rahal is always, can he sustain a good result? And rarely has he been able to. But credit where credit is due, right? I mean, like you mentioned, 3 top 10s. He's got the podium at Barber. He was solid at Long Beach. He qualified reasonably decent, started the race 10th, and just stayed out of trouble. And a race like Long Beach and how it was going, it was just don't put a wheel wrong.
When you have a relatively green race, it says a lot more to me about the drive you had if you're able to move forward or maintain a good position than when you have a chaos race, right?
Yeah.
And for like Nolan Siegel and Graham Rahal, these are really good results.
Because it didn't result in attrition, significant attrition ahead of you, right? It didn't result in just a crash fest or something happening with the yellow coming out at the right or wrong time for you to get positioned. This was a legitimate top 10 finish for Graham Rahal. And we talked about his teammate Mick Schumacher and his result, which was big. And then you throw in, what's his teammate? Louis Foster, who's kind of been a non-factor this year so far. He's just kind of out there. This is big for Graham Rahal, and you'd like to see his teammates, particularly Louis Foster, also up there getting some decent results, of which we're not. But Graham Rahal, for better or for worse, is the alpha on this team, and I feel like he's performed up to that expectation so far this year. So kudos, Graham Rahal. I don't know if I've ever said that on the podcast. Kudos, Graham Rahal.
I'm going to give bonus points to Alexander Rossi, who moved up 9 spots, and Will Buxton, using F1 terms, talking about the upgrades that ECR had made, confusing all IndyCar fans.
What upgrades did he bring? Softer foam in the
my assumption is that they upgraded their damper system during the break.
Yeah,
look, that's one of the few things you can upgrade.
I would love teams to be bringing upgrades race to race like Formula 1.
Yes.
This doesn't happen in this sport. No, it doesn't.
No, not in a spec sport like this. But big result for him, another top 10 on a street course for ECR. I think that's a big deal. Kevin Simpson getting a top 10, and Dennis Hauger, 19th to 11th, also a good result for him. Overall, it was not the greatest race we've ever seen, but it also wasn't the worst race we've ever seen, and that bared out in the TV rating. Now, I think people are maybe overreacting a little bit to the figures because it had a NASCAR Cup Series lead-in on Fox, so to me, it was a given it was going to get over 1 million viewers, unless the NASCAR race got rained out or something. But to get 1.269 million viewers, up 130% from last year on Fox,
which was a bad number, obviously going against the Masters.
Yeah, so you don't go against the Masters, and it's not Easter, and you're not going up against Talladega. Like those seem to be the 3 factors to avoid if you're IndyCar for Long Beach. And look, you can work the schedule to make that happen just about every year, at least 2 out of the 3.
Right. I'm not going to gloss over anytime IndyCar gets 1.2 million. I'm not going to gloss over it because it's a big.
Oh no, I'm not downplaying. I'm just saying, I expect over 1 million, but 1.269 is solid. I thought if you had an entertaining race, you could maybe flirt with a St. Pete like number, but obviously it was not an entertaining race. And based on the data, the peak viewership was in the 5:57 to 6 o'clock quarter hour, which was the start of the race.
Which is the start of the race, right?
Unfortunately.
Usually you peak at the end.
And
right?
that was over $1.5 million.
And this is the thing, and I know some people are like, well, it's always kind of like one race behind the rating. Well, I mean, if you want to go that strategy, that talking point, Barber wasn't great, and it was 3 weeks ago, right? So to retain viewers, and obviously you mentioned the big thing coming out of a lead-in from Cup. Thankfully, that race finished up without going in multiple overtimes, just had one. It took advantage. So 4 of the first 5 races, 1.2 million or above to start the season. And I think even more important maybe is the floor. 908,000 is your lowest. That's higher than 11 races last year in terms of TV ratings.
Which is insane.
Which is insanity. So 5 races in, 4 1.2 million or above. I think we're in great shape right now, and it's going to be a slow burn, I think, because the key, right, is averaging that 1 million. So maybe we see it after, next year and going forward. But we're going to talk about Acura, right? And their reconfiguration of focusing on IndyCar marketing a little bit more. And then we're going to talk later about a big box store in Sam's Club coming on
Not
board,
B2B,
right?
but B2C.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Actual businesses that are,
and not just the Indy 500.
Yes. So are we already seeing that impact of 1 million and more consistently turning into races? So it's great news. And with every 1 million and above, they start piling on. They build on each other, right? More momentum. We don't rarely say that about IndyCar either. It's very saying a lot of uncharacteristic things this week on the pod.
You look at Long Beach, the TV ratings, 552,000 last year on Fox. And then the year before was on USA Network, I believe. And that got 373,000 or something.
Brutal.
So you're looking at a huge, huge increase for IndyCar, all because it gets placed on network TV, and then you don't conflict with the Masters, and you don't conflict with NASCAR. Instead, you have a NASCAR lead-in, and obviously you're not going to race on Easter. So this is a really, really good thing to build on. And I was curious, this was the highest rated Long Beach race since reunification in 2008. So I was curious.
You did a deep dive into this.
What was that number? And remember, in 2008, IndyCar was on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2 throughout that season. And the Indy 500 got 7.245 million viewers, which is pretty similar to what they got last year. So keep that in mind. They had at Long Beach, and this was the final Champ Car race, because remember they raced at Motegi and the night before, but it started at 2 a.m. Eastern or whatever, and Danica's first win. So
I watched that at a bar in Peru, Indiana. I remember that.
The Long Beach race on ESPN2 got 621,000 viewers. So on ESPN2, and granted this was almost 20 years ago, the TV landscape was different, but one could argue the TV landscape's changed again because Nielsen updated that big data panel thing last fall. And so all the numbers we're seeing look great since last fall. This fall forward is going to be the comparison to that change and how things go moving forward, getting really inside baseball with TV viewership measurement. But for perspective, the Kansas race after, so the first race that included Danica Patrick after she won, was at Kansas on ESPN2. That got over 1 million viewers.
Wow.
In 2008.
And you said it was on the Deuce?
Yes. They had several races on ESPN2 get over 1 million viewers. They had several ABC races get over 1 million, including Iowa, which got nearly 1.7 million viewers. Watkins Glen, 1.45. That was on July 4th weekend. Mid-Ohio, 1.827. I'm pretty sure that had a lead-in from the Open Championship, a.k.a. the British Open.
Okay.
And then the season finale at Chicagoland, which would have been Labor Day weekend, got 1.1 million on ABC. Belle Isle got 1.2 million on ABC as the penultimate race. So that's just a bit of comparison. So what we're seeing with Long Beach is a really, really good number. like really good.
Yes.
I couldn't go back and I wasn't going to find, what Long Beach got rating-wise prior to that, but I was just curious what that number was. So that's showing you some real growth.
It absolutely does, and I think that also shows that while Long Beach is held in high regard within the series and pure motorsport fans, to the casual fan, nobody looks at Long Beach as an important race to watch. And and that's what more impresses me with that 1.269 million number, is Long Beach was not an exciting race, and it hasn't traditionally been a well-watched race, and it got a good number. And now you look at it, I mean, the biggest number we saw last year was that 1.4 million to start at St. Pete. But after that, the next highest number, not counting Indianapolis, of course, was a 1.14 million at Nashville. So that means...
And that was the season finale.
Correct. So we're looking at this year, 4 ratings at 1.2 million or above that in which we only had 1 last year. That was the season opener at St. Pete. So the percentage and the numbers vary depending on which numbers. Our numbers that we use, which are the public numbers, IndyCar's up 35.5% through the first 5 races.
44.
But yes, but 40 used 44%, which maybe we're missing. I didn't carry the 1 or something, but 35% or 44%. That's a huge number because we talked about at the beginning of the year. We expected more last year, but we looked at it this year, say double digits, right? Double digit jump is always good, and we're the double digit.
Yeah, I mean we're flirting with 50% now. I'll be curious. I also think scheduling played a role. When you start a race and your coverage starts at 5:30 Eastern and you have it following NASCAR, I mean, that's going to boost your numbers big time. The Indy GP is also starting later. I think it's like a 4:30 or 5 o'clock green flag, if I'm not mistaken. It's later. So, and because it's a Saturday race, which Saturday races don't draw as well, that will help the number as well. I just think IndyCar is doing a good job of working with Fox to make this kind of a better thing. I mean, it takes a lot of work. And when you have a TV partner as a part owner, they're going to help you. And I understand a lot of people wish every race started at 1 Eastern. And I get that. I know NASCAR fans all complain they want noon, right? For every Eastern time zone race. That's fine, but that doesn't always work. That works for fans in the stands, but that doesn't always work for TV watchers. When you have stuff start later in the day, especially in the spring and summer, you're going to get a better rating.
Absolutely.
Instead of being, right around lunchtime or just after when people want to do stuff outside. So I think they're working and they're doing a good job, and you're seeing the changes with the TV schedule helping things out. Yeah, 4:30 Eastern is the race start time. So, the green flag, I assume, would probably be closer to 5 o'clock. So, that's going to help your number as well, being a lot later in the day.
Definitely.
And I forget, I can't remember if there's a baseball lead-in that day. I think there is.
I would imagine there was something before that.
I'm going to double-check myself on this, but I'm pretty sure that on May 9th.
Because they do Saturday baseball. Usually Saturday evening.
Yeah. So it would lead into MLB probably.
Sunday,
so it's
Saturday.
So yeah, I don't know if you're going to get many baseball fans, tuning in early, but who knows?
It's better than going into something non-sports related. We'll just say that. But no, so far so good. It's been nice the first 5 races when you look at the lowest number being 908,000, because that was higher than 11 races last year.
Off to a great start. Any other final thoughts from you on Long Beach?
No, I don't think so. Just it's nice to go to Long Beach. Just wish it was more exciting.
For sure. We will dive into the latest on Indy 500 news real quick before we get to the mailbag and whatnot. And it's confirmed. Jacob Abel will be the 32nd entry, and then all signs point to Catherine Legg as being the 33rd entry with AJ Foyt Racing. Hasn't been confirmed. I don't know if it will be confirmed next week of the open test, but we have our field of 33. We won't have bumping. We move forward.
Yeah, not much to say. We kind of knew Jacob Abel was in before it was quote unquote official. So
unfortunately, it'll be Abel Construction as the sponsor. So the house sponsor, no Miller High Life again this year.
Unfortunately, but probably tough to get High Life back in the car when they didn't make the race last year.
Exactly. So that's her Indy 500 updates on that. We didn't get to some crazy numbers. Palou has won 11 of the last 22 races.
It's 50% by my count.
This from Beyond the Flag. He's now won IndyCar races with 9 different primary sponsors. Just 3 other full-time IndyCar drivers have more than 9 career wins.
Jeesh.
You want to guess the sponsors?
The sponsors.
See if we can name them all. I have the list, and I'm not looking at it, but
with 9 career,
9 different sponsors with wins for Palou. I remember his first one was with that Segi TV. I have no idea whatever happened with that.
How would you even remember that?
I don't know. I remember.
Okay, so we go DHL.
Ridgeline, Honda.
Yeah, I remember we were like, oh, they can't even get a sponsor for Alex Palou.
OpenAI, obviously, at Long Beach.
I was trying to remember.
So we're at 5. Who are we forgetting? Oh, did he win with Solo? Like the Solo Cup?
Maybe.
At Road America?
You have
Mid-Ohio?
The list?
Yeah, well, I'm not looking yet.
Okay.
We'll say that's 6.
Okay.
Who else are we forgetting? And when we say Honda, we mean like Honda Racing Company.
Correct. I don't know I think Solo.
PNC, did he have a PNC livery ever?
I don't know if he did or not.
NTT Data.
NTT would have to be on.
So that's got to be 7. We'll not say PNC. Even though I think PNC might be 1.
I want to. Did he win with in the American Legion car?
Yes.
Okay.
American Legion. That's 8. I'm not counting PNC. If we can't think of another one, we'll throw that in there. See if we're right.
American Legion I'm shocked I got that one.
Who else are we forgetting? I think, I'm going with PNC as the last one.
You said Ridgeline, right?
Yeah.
Green
I said, yep.
All right.
So
what's the list?
Segi, NTT, PNC, Solo, DHL, HRC, American Legion, Ridgeline, OpenAI. We got it. We nailed it.
Oh, look at us. We're so smart.
We nailed it.
Shocking.
So that from Beyond the Flag.
We didn't cheat at all. I swear.
No. And then this from Chad Smith, Chad 200. Alex Palou becomes the 14th person in motorsports history to have won both the Indy 500 and Grand Prix of Long Beach. You want to guess how many times that has happened where a driver won both races in the same year?
Twice?
Correct.
Okay.
Can you guess the drivers? I'll be real impressed.
Allenser Jr.?
Yes. In 1994.
Okay.
And then one other Penske driver.
One other Penske driver.
Now it's tricky because you got to think kart and IRL.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I would say Juan Pablo Montoya?
No. Elio. 2001. He won at Long Beach in 01 and then won the Indy 500 in 01. So keep that in mind for everyone saying, oh, Palou's just going to sweep the month of May. It's only happened twice where a driver has won Long Beach and the Indy 500 in the same year, let alone we're not even talking about him, winning the GP and the 500 and Long Beach because I don't think that's ever been done.
I don't think so either.
So,
but if anybody would do it,
it's Alex Palou. So there's your latest little trivia and fun with numbers after this. And finally, one other, Alexander Rossi, 100th top 10 finish of his career came at Long Beach. So there you go.
How about that?
All right. If you agree or disagree with us on Long Beach or last week's discussion on why the Indy 500 needs bumping, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media. Our Twitter/X handle is IndyCar Podcast. Thanks to everyone for following aboard the last few weeks. Finally over 1,000.
Comfortably over 1,000.
It's a great feeling. We were so close for months, and then we surpassed the threshold. IndyCar Podcast on Twitter/X, also on Instagram. Just search for IndyCar Podcast. Facebook, just search for New Track Record. You can email us your questions, comments, rants, concerns, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us via Patreon, patreon.com/New Track Record. Thanks to Gene, Reed, Rob, and others for their support. And as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Mailbag time, and we start with Rate the Race per usual. How would you rate the 51st Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach?
I had it a 4.5.
And I have it, I'm going to go 5.
Okay.
Our listeners,
it was
number.
a historic
Yes.
number.
Historically low. So I went back and checked earlier today. In fact, on my way here,
Okay.
I'm like, what did Thermal get from our listeners? Because I know last year we started averaging, I think, all the numbers, but I was not smart enough to write it all down in a note on my phone to have historical comparisons. I finally started doing that this year. Thermal last year got a 6.2.
Wow, that's high.
Yeah, I was shocked. I think you gave it like a 4.5. So Long Beach this year, per our listeners, averaged out to a 3.774.
That's lower than both of us.
And that includes a 1 and a 10 in the rating.
Yes. Now Lynn did the 10 because Palou won and Dixon was third.
Yes.
So, which is fine. To each his own. But that is
Shocking.
shockingly low. I mean, it was not a good race, but I don't know if it was that bad of a race. But hey,
Right?
to each his own.
I would have said that Thermal was much worse. I would have said I couldn't find. I was chaotically looking for Iowa 1 in 2024. I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
But
it's bad.
I'm sure that one was bad. I don't know if we were averaging it out at that point either. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh, man. Oh, well. Well, hey, we're past Long Beach. Hopefully we get it fixed next year. At least go in the right direction.
Yes, for sure. Elsewhere on the mailbag, this is from S2000_Moose. In my experience, the most zealous advocates of bumping live within a couple hours drive of IMS. The farther away from IMS, the less of an issue it is. Well, yeah, because you're probably not going to qualifying if you live more than a couple hours away from IMS.
Yeah, I don't know how to quantify that statement. The people that are IndyCar diehards that watch qualifying, are they any less interested because they live in Spokane, Washington, as the people that live in Muncie, Indiana? I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I just don't know how to quantify that.
And then he added a couple more. If there's ever a return to bumping, it should be accompanied by a new tradition. The owner of each car bump must set $1 million on fire at the Yard of Bricks. Are you with me? As soon as I read that, I thought of Emerson Fittipaldi's, $1 million cash haul for winning the 89 500, and then they just lit it on fire right there. That was the
You get
visual.
the car out of there, and then we're gonna. I just pictured in the Dark Knight when the Joker lights all that money on fire and slides down it.
And then he also sent one more. Correction department. My understanding is teams use the early week Indy 500 for race prep, particularly traffic. They don't work on time trials until late Thursday or Friday. So
I think it's more just most cars are just going out there to kind of shake things down the first couple of days, see where you're at, right? I guess that'll still happen. But I other than the last hour or so, or hour and a half, we really don't see a lot of pack racing or pack practicing during the week. Except for fast, especially later in the week, people are just trying to find open track for qual sims, especially Fast Friday.
We had a few other thoughts on bumping. This from Poet Shevchenko. Listening to last week's episode, your concerns about Indy 500 car count. My crazy idea is in 2020 to 2030, make the DW12 with current engine legal to run in the Indy 500. Full season teams can make money selling the chassis. In spares, we'd have 2 chassis. It sounds great, but IndyCar is a spec series, so they wouldn't agree to that. Plain and simple.
Unfortunately, but I do like the idea.
Yes.
Because what's the difference next year when everybody's running this chassis to the year after when everybody's running a new chassis? Other than maybe the new engine wouldn't fit in the old chassis, would be my concern. But then, could you run old engines?
And then Mini Triceratops vehemently disagrees with us on bumping talk. I think this is the worst episode of a podcast I have heard in a long time. The lead up to the 500.
A podcast or any podcast?
A podcast.
Oh, man.
So I guess just our podcast? I don't know. The lead up to the 500 is for practice. Practice in all caps. Teams don't just show up and keep their cars the exact same. Drivers and teams want practice. Bumping is nice, but it does not ruin the Indy 500 anyway without it. But couldn't you just do a full day of practice on Friday and then another practice session Saturday, qualify Saturday, race Sunday? I get that you have all the other events going on, but if you're just going to have 33 every year, why do we need all the extra time?
We don't.
We don't.
We don't need all the extra time.
And I don't want there to be less track time.
Sounds like for some people, all that matters is race day anyway, so get rid of the entire month. Or
yes.
The 2 weeks, right? Nothing else matters but race day. Let's just show up Friday. Let's do a couple practices. Let's qualify Saturday, and let's do this the 500 on Sunday. That's the only thing that matters to some people, right?
Yeah. So we'll agree to disagree on that. Elsewhere, a mailbag thoughts. First, Tommy the Tree 01, IndyCar going to Fox was the best thing that could have happened. Putting 2/3 of your season on USA and a few races only on Peacock was never going to work.
I think we looked at in 2020 as Roger Penske being the savior for IndyCar racing to survive the pandemic. I think in the coming years, we're going to look back and say Fox was the savior of IndyCar, 5 years later.
I don't think we have to look at it. I think we're seeing it play out in real time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even the comparison from 25 to 26, I mean, it's obvious that things have improved greatly, even just year over year, which is saying a lot. This from Poet Shevchenko. Here's a thought. The reason IndyCar short ovals race well now is because some teams' drivers can't set up well for them and become lap traffic. If we had more ovals, then the worst cars would improve, causing the same issue as on road and street courses. Interesting thought.
Interesting thought, but I'm going to push back because the ovals aren't as big as this road and street courses. Road and street courses was our smallest, 1.6 miles, 1.8.
Yeah.
I mean, the other than Indianapolis, a lot of we have a mile and a quarter ovals, right? That's less distance. So I understand the point. I just don't know if it would be applicable apples to apples.
This from Daguerre, 100% Swedish Poles with the single lap qualifying format. Keep that in mind.
True. Sweden's taken over.
Yeah, so I thought that was fascinating. Also, we have this from a Transocean Trojan who was boots on the ground for us in Long Beach, talking about that qualifying format. Put on a great show on TV, I'm sure, but seeing one car go by at a time through a couple corners on a street course isn't necessarily riveting in person. It's a great point, and I thought the session was way too delayed. It just felt like it should have been tighter.
Yeah.
Like a car starts a warm up lap, they go, and then they cross the line. The other car should already have started coming around the course.
Yeah,
it just felt like there was way too much buildup for it. I thought it was entertaining, but I think they could tighten the timing of it.
And I think we need to mention the added onus on sector times.
Oh, yeah. Fox.
Very exciting.
No, Fox did a great job with qualifying. Between the sector times, you could tell you'd have to be paying attention, but if the time was red during the Fast Six, they were behind. If it was green, they were ahead. And so that's how you could kind of track during the lap. I don't think they explained that, but they did explain sector times earlier. I thought qualifying, Fox did a great job. This was the best they have done.
I would like when they break down the sector times when it's live, put how plus or minus they are from the leader. Because if they're purple, if they're the best sector one of the field, is it by 100th? Is it by 0.3? Because then if they are yellow in the second sector, how does that even out?
Transocean Trojan also added, still though, even that boring last round of qualifying couldn't kill the vibe of ice cold beer, King Taco, and the warm weather watching IndyCars on track. Yeah, that jealous. I've not had King Taco, so I gotta try it one day. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's better than Taco Bell or what's another what's it? Del Taco is just kind of meh.
Yeah.
I've had it. I'm trying to think of other taco chains.
Taco John's.
I don't know if I've had Taco John's.
It's decent, but it's like Taco Bell.
Okay. So, but yeah, that is, yes, doing it right for sure. Let's see if we have anything else on the mailbag. Obviously, a lot of thoughts on Rate the Race. I think that is it. We'll save some of the other ones for Tweets of the Week. We actually have a lot of Tweets of the Week this week, so a lot of good content.
Tweets of the Week, huh?
With that. With that, we'll move on to news and notes. And this I forgot to mention in our numbers breakdown. But Matt Hickey 93, Kyle Kirkwood's top 5 at Long Beach cemented the 29th time since 1960. The driver has started the IndyCar season with 5 straight top 5 finishes. Last 10 times that's happened, we'll review Kirkwood, obviously, this year. Palou did it last year. Palou again in 24. Will Power in 22. Noticing a trend here?
I am a little bit.
This is where the trend ends. Scott Dixon in 2017 did not win the title.
Oh,
but then you keep going. Pagenaud 17 and 16. Elliott in 08, Dixon in 07, Bourdais in 2006. Majority of the time, these are your title winners.
And we will have to see if that holds true this year. But, at this point, I know you're not ready to write the season off, but the only thing between talking about another dominant season for Alex Palou and where we are now is that finish at Phoenix.
Between Indy 500 qualifying points and the Indy 500, plus I know we're going into the Indy GP, which you'd expect him to dominate. We haven't had a lot of chaos in IndyCar, and I'm surprised that drivers haven't been more aggressive. I don't feel like the drivers have been very aggressive with this car, and the excuse is, well, you can't. But when are they going to get so desperate to try to beat this guy that they become more aggressive and we see a lot more incidents happen?
Well, I think we could have had that at Long Beach if the start was anywhere coherent.
That's true. But so that's a little stat thing. This coming in actually very recently before we started recording on Thursday afternoon, and that is that Dale Coyne Racing team manager Mitch Davis is retiring.
Yeah, effective immediately. So big loss for Coyne as they head into the month of May.
So they do have Bill Pappas to run Romain Grosjean's car, but again, going into May where they struggled with qualifying last year, that's not necessarily a good sign for that team. Congrats to Mitch Davis on an outstanding career. I mean, he's been with so many teams. He's 70 years old.
Let the guy
a lot
retire.
of success. But for Dale Coyne Racing, I mean, we talked about it. If we had bumping, there were about a half dozen entries immediately you were concerned about, and those Coyne ones were 2 of those half dozen.
But they don't have to worry about anything this year.
No. All right, we tease this. Sam's Club, a true business-to-consumer sponsor coming on for IndyCar, and it's not just for the Indy 500. In fact, when I saw it initially, I'm like, oh, just for the month of May? No. Indy 500 onward, Sam's Club will be the primary sponsor for Kyle Kirkwood's number 27 Honda with Andretti Global. This is a
of the season.
Huge deal. Now, the livery is somewhat underwhelming.
I know you like blue on black, though. There's just nothing, no pizzazz with it.
Kind of bland. And I kind of feel the same about Power's livery for the 500 and Ericsson with Phoenix Investors. I mean, that Allegra car last year was really cool, and it's cool to see it again at Long Beach and Barbara. I'm surprised, but all this is telling me that companies are paying more money to be on these entries, and there's actual bidding wars going on with entries. So that's a big deal with Kirkwood and Sam's Club the rest of the year. And then the other sponsor, and that's Acura, and that they were on Felix Rosenquist's car. They'll be with, I believe, Marcus Armstrong for the Indy 500 in May.
Huge.
And then also other prominent events. And it's not basically confirmed what events those are, but I would expect Washington, D.C. to be one of those other events.
So
one or more races after the Indy 500, that per the story by Marshall Pruitt on Racer.com.
Now, the big thing is people will look at Acura and say, okay, third OEM question mark. Acura is a subsidiary of Honda.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that. So likely not, but it's huge because they are they getting out of IMSA or are they just hitting?
No, they're getting out of IMSA at the end of this year.
So they're leaving IMSA, Acura is, and Acura is essentially investing in more marketing in IndyCar. And that's huge. And so especially with it coming from Honda, within Honda. So that's big. It's huge. I don't think it means anything for a third OEM like some would like to think and hope and pray. But I think this is a big thing. And like you said, right, business to consumer. The more business to consumer companies that are involved in IndyCar, the better. Because we haven't had a lot.
Yeah, and it's not just that they're putting Acura, on the rear wing or on the car for the 500, and one or more prominent events ahead on the schedule. It's that they're upping their marketing spend in IndyCar. Basically, they're pausing IMSA starting in 2027, so this will be the last year, and then they're going to expand into IndyCar starting at the Indy 500 with Meyer Shank Racing, on the 66 with Marcus Armstrong, and then again and beyond. So as John Orovitz points out, they buried the lead. It's that Meyer Shank Racing will continue an additional high-profile entity IndyCar Series races with Acura and the multi-race IndyCar activation. They're pausing IMSA program following the 2026 IMSA. I mean, we went from, is Honda going to stay? And as recently as last summer, as start of this year, it was the start of this year. I think it maybe thought, okay, I think they're going to stay on, because it's been quiet, official, but we had no clue.
Right? Yeah,
we've gone from Honda's gone last summer to now. Not only is Honda back, but now one of their other companies under their brand is increasing their activation in IndyCar. Yeah, we saw an Acura IndyCar when Acura became the title sponsor of Long Beach back in 2019, but that was it.
Yeah,
this is a big step forward.
This is a big deal, and
also remember, Shank is most likely going to have that Honda charter factory entry as well for a third full-time entry starting in 2028. And I think that's got to be a factor here.
It absolutely, but whatever. I mean, it's great news, and maybe news that maybe flies under the radar compared to the big ticket items in the series. But these are the stories, the Acuras, the Sam's Clubs that we hope to continue to see, not just for the 500 like we've had, but beyond, because of the added interest in this series in terms of TV ratings. TV ratings drives everything. And I think we're starting to see the impact of increased TV ratings.
For sure. Let's talk a couple of drivers who were on site at Long Beach that kind of raised some eyebrows. Number one, Arthur Leclerc, Charles's brother, was at Long Beach. A guest of Andretti Global. Now, what's the tie-in there? Is he...
good question.
I mean, I don't follow, the series he races in. I know he's a former member of Ferrari's academy.
Well, he raced for Prema.
But so did a lot of drivers. I don't think that means anything.
I know. I don't know. Maybe it was, okay, free weekend, I'll go to Long Beach. So right now, I think he's a development driver for Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari and F1.
Pretty much doesn't do anything. And he does Europe Endurance. So
GT World Challenge with AF Corsa. So...
Is he a guy that's...
Is he looking to make the IndyCar switch?
And see what develops? And
I thought that was interesting, though, that he was there. And then they did the warm-up interview. Now, I know it made a lot of fans mad that they weren't showing cars on track right away when Felipe Nasr was chatting with Will Buxton and James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell. But he's tested an IndyCar. Remember, he raced in F1. He's had an outstanding sports car career currently with Penske and IMSA. Felipe Nasr is a guy who you feel like would have gotten a chance several years ago, but you don't leave the Penske sports car ride unless you get something really good in IndyCar. And he's tested IndyCars multiple times. So it's not like, he hasn't, raced, he hasn't raced, but he's tested several times. I just thought it was fascinating. He basically said, if he gets the opportunity to race IndyCar, he'd jump at it. And he's a really talented driver.
I thought it was a really good interview.
I thought so too. I was fascinated to hear what he had to say, because remember, his first foray, I believe, came testing the open test at COTA in 2020 before that season started. Well, didn't start. And he was with Carlin, I think, in one of the entries at the open test. And then several years, nothing in IndyCar. And then he had another test he's tested with Penske a couple times. Remember, he was going to make his debut for Carlin in IndyCar at St. Pete, but then that race,
everything fell apart.
Everything fell apart. So didn't compete. And then he's with Cadillac for a few years, Porsche Penske now the last several years. That's a really good ride. You don't give that ride up for anything. And I think it's kind of fascinating that he's come close in IndyCar to getting a ride, having an opportunity. But I thought it was fascinating, and let's not discount this. If there are changes at Penske this offseason, I mean, Lucas, I think, is locked in, but the other two drivers, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a seat there. Who knows? Something to keep in mind.
Crazier things have happened.
For sure. That's my 2 cents there. So keep his name in mind. Also, Long Beach, another note we forgot to get to. AJ Foyt Racing tire changer Ryan Marzek hit in a pit collision. I believe Will Power got penalized for drive-through, hitting a crew member. But he was treated and released. So good news there on that incident on pit lane during the race.
Yes, very much so.
Do we want to talk schedule or do we want to talk push to pass gate 2.0?
Push to pass gate 2.0.
So we had a little error with the push to pass software on the lap 62 restart. System was available to all drivers when it should be disabled prior to passing the alternate start finish line. 12 drivers used it. IndyCar officiating did not view it as an infraction. There was like one pass, but it's Marcus Armstrong who ended up P last among cars running. So, and then it was fascinating to see the drivers say who said, "Oh, we didn't use it." Among those, Kyle Kirkwood said no Andretti driver used it on the restart. You got to remember that's just him and Power because Ericsson was out at that point. Graham Rahal said he didn't use it. Alexander Rossi and Christian Rasmussen did not use it. So that's where we stand.
Now, not that it impacted much of anything.
No, I think we're only talking about it because it's notable because of what happened
of course.
A couple years ago. I don't think this really impacted the race in any way, shape, or form. These are the kind of things, though, that IndyCar needs to clean up for credibility purposes.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. What is it? Some switch that somebody forgot to hit or didn't hit? I don't know. Mm-hmm. This stuff has to stop happening.
Yeah, software glitch. So work with NTT, who is your title sponsor, and get it figured out. I just thought it was fascinating. We'll save a comment from a driver's wife later on for tweets. I guess technically this is an Instagram post of the week. All right, let's catch up on the racer mailbag, and there was a lot of stuff this week.
Yeah, some ridiculous, per usual.
Yeah, we always get some ridiculous.
Poor Marshall.
So we start, let's see. Here we go. Here's the full rundown.
Most of it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to skip past all the
notes
ridiculous stuff.
They're dumb.
Someone said move the starting line further down the front straight. Again, that sounds easy. We talked about the senior IndyCar official being livid at the start, the dive bomb issue.
In terms of not being able to dive bomb as much.
Renderings of the new car expected to come in May. So there we go. That's positive.
That's correct.
It was not Colton Herta's idea to go to F2. Dan Towers made him. That per Marshall Pruitt.
That is fascinating because it's always been spun as like a mutual thing. But to your point, you mentioned, hey, when you're getting paid as much as Colton Herta was getting paid and you're not winning like an Alex Palou is winning in IndyCar, you can't justify making that much money in that series. So you know what? You're getting pushed to Europe. And that's pretty much what happened.
The $7 million a year paycheck was always with the stipulation that Colton Herta was going to drive for what was then the Andretti F1 team. That's why he was getting paid that much.
Now, if he was dominating IndyCar in the way that Alex Palou is, maybe you could make a case. Yes, we'll continue to pay you that money to dominate IndyCar.
When you're getting paid well above the market value among the top, Palou's not making that money.
No, and I think that was
Dixon's not making that money,
and it's good for IndyCar to get him out of the series in the sense that
Pato isn't even making that money.
Yeah, it resets the market because everybody's like, whoa. Now everybody's going to start asking for Colton Herta money, and we're not paying Colton Herta money.
No, that simply doesn't exist in the series right now, and nor should it. I don't think you would need to add a lot more races, and look, the TV ratings have to go up another 44% but next year for that to even be a consideration for, say, 2028.
But I think it's very interesting that Colton Herta probably get a couple beers in him, and off the record, he'd probably say, yeah, I didn't want to do this. But he's doing it. He's a company man, and when your boss says this is what you're doing because you're making X amount of money, we all run into that at times, or people run into that in their regular jobs. Hey, we're paying you too much money to do this amount of work. And that was the case with Colton Herta. Hey, you're getting sent to Europe because we're paying you too much to do what you're doing in IndyCar.
And speaking of drivers who have had a lot of stuff in the media about their money, Alex Palou, the newest acquisition for the IMS Museum is Alex Palou's 2025 Indy 500 winning car on display now at the IMS Museum. That's cool. That's something that I feel like they should do, every year, especially when you have a spec car. It's not like you're...
It's been purchased. It's not like, hey, it's here for a year like they do with the Daytona cars.
Mm-hmm.
It is...
And then they already still do the front row feature as well, which will be really funny going this May, seeing Robert Schwartzman's pole-winning car on display.
Very
in the front row, the starting line experience, which is really cool. If you haven't been to the museum, be sure to check that out. Elsewhere, we had discussed, we would talk about scheduling stuff. An interesting note, Doug Bowles talking with local Indy media about the schedule. Bowles said, we're already talking about our 2027 schedule, definitely to kick the 2020 season off like we did 26. A lot of big events, a lot of back-to-back events just to get excitement going. Then we want to try and think about one more event in April. Now, this is where I think your talk of a Kansas doubleheader maybe comes into play.
Ooh.
Do you move Long Beach so that you can have Kansas come into play, or is it Watkins Glen, which is, I think, early May? I don't know if that might be too late. But I think we're going to see another race in April. Is that what are other options? Is it Brazil? In 2027,
you definitely have a gap there.
Yeah,
you need filled. But to your point, Easter throws you off because it's all over the place. I think next year, I want to say it's the first or second weekend of April, first or second Sunday. I think the second Sunday, I want to say, of April. So it's always up to the up for grabs, right? So I don't know what could be available. Is it another NASCAR work together weekend? Is it something else? Is it Brazil? I think it'd be tough to put.
Easter's early. It's March 28th next year.
Oh, really? So here's my thing. It's tough to go to Brazil with when would you go would be my thing. Because the Barber would probably be pushed back into April next year because they had the last weekend of March this year, which will be Easter next year, correct?
So in Goiânia, Brazil, which is where that track is that they're looking at, the weather averages... Let's see. It looks like the April weather, so the average high, daily high temperatures around 86. Okay. Rarely below 82 or exceeding 90. So, April would be a time to do it, or March.
But the problem is it is a busy schedule all of a sudden, which is great early in the season. You have to fit in the IndyCar Open test somewhere, right? And then you have Long Beach, and it's not just, and then you would have to keep the weekend before and the weekend after open, you would think, right? For Brazil?
Especially the first time. Yeah, probably.
So basically you need 3 weeks for
maybe
Brazil
you
race.
do Brazil either that March 28th weekend, because when you're doing a race in actually I don't think that would work in Brazil either. I'm just trying to think
Catholics
of...
in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, that wouldn't work.
But that's the thing. You almost need a three weeks for that 1 week of Brazil. So I don't know if it fits next year into April. So I kind of come back to, is it a Kansas? Is it a Watkins Glen? Is it a Texas?
So Long Beach is already set for 2027 because the IMSA schedule is already out for 27. It will be Sunday, April 18th.
Okay. So you're looking at the week before?
So, yeah, you could do
before?
April 3rd, maybe.
But unless that's Barber week, because you get off.
True.
You get off Easter weekend. So I don't know.
The Masters in 2027 is April 8th through 11th.
So you kind of want to avoid the week before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of things to figure out. I'm intrigued. I don't know.
So you could do Barber April 4th. Long Beach is April 18th.
I mean, conventional wisdom would make you think, okay, Phoenix was a success. Fox one's another doubleheader. That's where I would lean right now.
But I guess my point is, are we not actually adding a race during this time, and it's just because of how the calendar works that Barber would move back into April, and then Long Beach would be April 18th, and then you have your Indy test the last the last week of April, and then May 1st is that Saturday. So maybe you have something May 2nd, but I'd be very surprised. Like that's a lot on the teams. Like maybe it's just you have two events, and due to the calendar, Barber move back into April, and then Long Beach stay its traditional roughly third Sunday in April date.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much up for grabs in terms of when you can't in the spring that it really limits your options. But we'll see. I welcome all new race events.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hope we see Brazil next year. I'd be surprised though. You got to be pretty far along in the process, and yes, they have a track, so that's a big start. But you got to be pretty far along in the process to get something, to the finish line for the next, the following year's schedule.
I mean, the biggest thing when we look at it, though, this year is we're through the biggest gap in the schedule. We're through. Right? March 29th to April 19th.
I mean, besides the World Cup gaps.
But those are only a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even the distance between Nashville and Portland, I guess, is 3 weeks. The only other 3-week gap we have. Everything else is 2 weeks at most. So it's a pretty good schedule in terms of that.
Let's discuss, one rumor from Jaron Dimmendahl, who covers IndyCar in the Netherlands. This is translated from Dutch, but viewing tip, Linus should actually have been in the number 77 this season already. I still don't rule out that Linus Lundqvist will join Hunkos Hollinger in 2027 after all.
And you are still of the opinion, despite what reporters have said, that you think, would you say one or both of Stingray, Rob, Nolan, Siegel do not last the season?
At least one. And whether that happens before the Indy 500, after the Indy 500, late in the year, I'm convinced that both don't stay in their seats the full year.
Well, through 3 races, Stingray Rob, 21st, 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 last person to do that, won the championship. Well,
yeah, Greg Ray.
He has went the other way, finishes of 22nd and 23rd since. And he's now last among full-time drivers.
IndyCar also named their independent officiating board managing director. That is Scott Elkins, veteran of Champ Car, IMSA, and Formula E. So good credentials there. We'll get to something on Tweets of the Week with that as well.
Oh.
A lot of good stuff. Kurt Signetti told both of his bosses, this pulled from an ESPN story, to turn down all external requests and speaking engagements so he could continue to focus on football. I'm 95% football, Signetti said. We've said no to everything except for the Indy 500.
He knows what's important in the state of Indiana, doesn't he? Very wise, very wise.
He does. There's a story talking about Indiana and Notre Dame football. I need to check that out because I think I started it and I didn't finish it. Details on the open test. Gates open, mission free. Gates open on Tuesday, April 28th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then Wednesday, April 29th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. local time. Turn 2 viewing mounds are open via Tunnel 3. Southeast Vista grandstands have free admission as well. Free parking in Lot 3P, ims.com. All the details for you. And it will be interesting to see when we get an entry list. And now Jacob Abel is set to participate in this test, right?
As far as I know.
And then if we get the 33rd announced and if it runs on track.
Now, do you expect, if that happens, or at the very least, Catherine Legg jumps into somebody else's car?
At the very least, I would think she'd get some track time.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Pato Ward throughout the first pitch of the Cubs game today.
I did not see the full video. Did he throw a strike? I only saw like a one where it was looking at him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he threw a strike or not.
Not sure.
cannot confirm. He also was on Wake Up Barstool, which is on FS1, so we're seeing the Fox Sports promotion leading into May really pick up.
For the dozens of people.
Yes, the dozens. Prime Video announced it will premiere the Kyle Larson versus the Double documentary May 21st.
Good timing.
Also, Java House in the Indy area going to do some driver appearances with Alexander Rossi, Ed Carpenter, Christian Rasmussen. Friday, April 24th in Midtown Carmel, 5 to 7 p.m. Thursday, April 30th in Zionsville, same time slot. Monday, May 11th in Clay Terrace. And then Wednesday, May 20th in Fishers. Full details on ECR social media. So if you want to meet the ECR drivers, you can do so that way.
I must say, you mentioned Java House, is one of my favorite aspects of race weekend now has become watching warm-up. And you and I going back on forth on who takes a
who actually sips. It's amazing because James will actually pretend to take a sip of coffee. He's not a coffee guy.
So you think he's just touching lips, but he's not drinking anything?
I think so because they do the Java with James, like Honda, interview feature on socials. And it's funny because like Hinchcliffe does not like coffee. He's not a coffee guy.
He did,
but they still do the
Liquid Science.
Liquid Science is delicious, by the way.
You mentioned that.
I sampled it at Nashville because Java House is like at all the races, and you could sample it. It's simple. Whether it's a coffee or Liquid Science, which is kind of like a Gatorade type thing, you peel it, you pour it in the cup, you add water, you stir it up. There you go.
It looked it's
very good. Would recommend.
Will Buxton is usually the most frequent drinker of Java House.
He is a coffee guy. He probably drinks a lot of Java House.
And perhaps the most shocking part of Long Beach was seeing Townsend Bell take a bite of key lime pie.
It was his birthday.
That's true, but I'm sure he pumped out like 1,000 crunches after that to work that up because the guy, he never drinks Java House. He never does that.
He didn't have a Twinkie when they did that in the booth last year.
Absolutely did not do that. And then that was the running joke last year with Will Buxton always snacks in the booth. And it was shocking to me that Townsend Bell took a bite. I know there was at one point there was donuts out there. He wouldn't eat a donut. It was shocking. But that's one of my favorite things about weekends with warm-ups is who drinks what on set. And maybe we'll have to start a graph about that one too.
Aaron Likens, who's the flag guy for IndyCar, Playing in Traffic, which is his book being made into a documentary filming ongoing release next year. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Look forward to watching that. Other notes, let's see. I think we covered everything. Anything that we missed? There's a lot going on.
Nothing is coming to mind.
So I'll double check that we didn't miss anything big, but I don't think so. With that, time for tweets of the week, and we have several. First one from Nick J. Fletcher. 2028 IndyCar engine regulations, meaning it's the Spider-Man pointing, at each other meme. Cadillac, Honda, Chevrolet, Acura. Thought that was great.
Yep.
We have this from Nicole on Racing. Dear IndyCar and or IndyCar teams, release the 12 names. This from Tony D. Indy on the IndyCar hiring Scott Elkins as the managing director of officiating. Does he know how to flip the P2P on and off?
That's just what I picture, just like a switch that it's labeled on-off that somebody has to make sure is flipped.
Indy Oreo, John Oriovitz, replying to our Weenie 500 post. There you go. You've identified the way to restore respectability to bump day.
Asking if there was going to be bumping in this year's Weenie
in the Weenie 500. This from Indy 44. Push to pass is disabled. The drivers just in case, and it's the video of the seniors just constantly pressing the button at the casino.
The slot machines.
Jody, the realtor, OBX Jody, Barber, Long Beach, and the road course at IMS is the triumvirate of terrible when it comes to race action quality.
Maybe that's what Doug Bowles is talking about.
Yeah, they need another race because between Barber, Long Beach, and the Indy GP, not real exciting stuff lately.
They need to split up the stinkers.
Yes. And then finally, the Upshift found this, but it's from Ashley Newgarden, I believe, via Instagram. And she said, where are all those, why would I push it if it doesn't work, guys? LOL.
She's waiting for something like that to come around.
Yes. I had to save the best for last because if you're new to IndyCar, just look up the controversy surrounding the 2024 Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg and the push to pass gate, if you will. And there you go.
Oh, it was a riot, wasn't it?
It was. What a time. What a time.
What a time.
All right. Our random split error driver of the week is...
Well, some of these random split error driver of the week are guys that none of us have heard of. Other ones everybody has heard of. We just need a refresher. And this week's is Arie Luyendyk Jr.
Hey.
Now, if I had to ask you, or if I am going to ask you, if you needed to tell me how many races did Arie Luyendyk Jr. run in Indy Lights and regular IndyCar, what would you say? How many Indy Lights races did Arie Luyendyk Jr. run in?
6.
Okay. How many IndyCar races did Arie Luyendyk Jr. run?
3.
He ran 66 Indy Lights races across 8 years. He ran 1 IndyCar race.
Because he didn't qualify.
2006 Indianapolis 500. He did not qualify in 2005. 66 Indy Lights races, which is astounding. I wonder if that's a record for Indy Lights on how many races. But Arie Luyendyk Jr., of course, the son of two-time Indianapolis 500 winner Arie Luyendyk. He competed in Indy Lights, where he raced in 66 races. Never one race, Chicagoland in 2008.
Can you imagine a lights car going around Chicagoland? I mean, would they be pushing 200 now?
I think Roger Penske's head would explode.
Yes,
because he doesn't want him on the speedway.
Might be faster than Cup.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. 66 races in Indy Lights. Now, he tried to make the 2005 Indianapolis 500 with Curb Agajanian Motorsports. And Beck Motorsports was part of that. Now, what was interesting in that is he was slower he was close to 2 mile an hour slower than the next slowest qualifier when he was trying to qualify. AJ Foyt hired driver Felipe Giafoni to qualify a third car for him. This is what we're talking about, what the beauty of Bump Day used to be.
Yes.
You could just hire somebody qualifying weekend and throw them in a car.
Because you had Champ Car and IRL, so you had drivers who, I'd want to compete in the Indy 500. Don't have the chance.
Standing around. Now, Felipe Giafoni ended up bumping Arie Luyendyk Jr. from the field. So he did not start in 2005. 2006, he did qualify for the 500 in a car owned by his father, backed by CheapCaribbean.com and Blue Star Jets, both of which I've never heard of. The team had limited practice time due to a second-week engine program. Now, that was when you just got the engine late to save money. Is that correct?
Yes. So you didn't have it the first week, just the second week.
Correct.
They don't do that anymore.
Because there's only a week.
Yeah.
Now,
but I think maybe you could have more, engines if you had a discounted rate where you just get it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the weekend of the race.
Yeah, maybe. Or even just Fast Friday. Who knows? His first race in the more powerful cars ended early due to handling issues. He finished 54 of 200 laps, ending in 28th place. After that, he got into Grand Prix racing and all that. Now, people that aren't involved in racing know Arie Luyendyk Jr. from The Bachelor.
Yes.
He was first, I guess, on The Bachelorette. He was runner-up in the 8th season. And then he was the Bachelor in the 22nd season.
Remember, they have like 2 seasons a year,
Correct.
So it's not as far off as you think.
Now, he asked some woman named Becca Cuffrin to marry him in the season finale. However, he regretted rejecting the runner-up, Lauren Burnham. And actually, long story short, married.
Yeah, they're a happy family.
They are.
I mean, it's great. I know there are not many success stories from those shows, but this is one of them. They married in 2019. They have a daughter who was born in 2019 and 2021. They had twins, and then in fact last year they had another daughter. So
4 kids.
Pretty cool.
He's a real estate broker in Scottsdale.
Related to an IndyCar sponsor, Remax.
Yep.
I wonder if he had a role in that.
Very true. So, and did a considerable amount of Stadium Super Trucks. In fact, won a bronze medal. I did not know this. Stadium Super Trucks was part of the 2015 Summer X Games. And he won a bronze medal in the 2015 Austin X Games.
And he's won 3 Stadium Super Trucks races. In 2018, he won at...
We won at Detroit, and then what is this?
I don't even know what this
Motor Mall Wanneroo race.
I don't know what that is.
In Perth, Australia.
So they raced in Perth. He won at Detroit, and then he also won at Road America in 2020. So, in fact, recently raced at Long Beach last year in Stadium Super Trucks. Now, I don't think they had Stadium Super Trucks.
I think they did.
At Long Beach this year. Did they?
Trucks, I believe, because they were talking about Drift was there, and they talked about Super Trucks was there. Now, it may have been on the weekend before, because I think Drift was there the week before. So maybe it wasn't on the same weekend, but I think Stadium Super Trucks was indeed there. But whether you're a race car fan or a bachelor/bachelorette fan, you know the name Arie Luyendyk Jr. 66 Indy Lights races, astounding, and 1 IndyCar race. Arie Luyendyk Jr., this week's Random Split Era Driver of the Week.
And a driver that I have met.
Really?
In person. Eons ago when I worked at the Speedway. So when they did the Legends Day autograph sessions, he was a part of it.
Okay.
And that was back at the time. I mean, it's still very popular coming off The Bachelor.
Yeah.
And myself and some of my coworkers basically were there to just kind of like manage the crowds in the session. And we were just sitting at a table because he was like toward the end and we were making sure people were, exiting out.
Sure.
They put him toward the end, rightfully so. And we just sat and chatted with him for basically an hour or two. Really nice guy.
Nice guy, yeah.
Really nice guy.
Awesome.
It was funny to see his reactions to all the crazy responses by women to see him be like, "Oh, I loved you on the,"
Love you on the show, or
yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. But it was just it was fascinating. But
yeah, the women that stood
very
in line going past the actual legends of IndyCar to get to the guy that was on The Bachelor and The Bachelor.
Yes. He was very popular, that Legends Day autograph session, let me tell you.
I don't care who
But
AJ Foyt is.
Very nice guy. Very much enjoyed chatting with him for an hour or two that day.
Very good. Awesome. And he's on The Trader. He was on The Traders a couple years ago, which is a...
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. On Peacock. I haven't watched it, but...
Me neither. It's popular, but he was on the 2023 season of Traders.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for Justin Kinney. I'm Caleb Batch. We'll be back next week to recap the IMS Open Test. Will we have 33 cars and drivers take the track? We'll let you know on the next edition of New Track Record Podcast.